I was this obese creative outcast, essentially, that had really horrible self-esteem issues and had my spirit and that bright light squashed relentlessly through violence and bullying from the world around me in the dieting industry and my own family, even in some level. They couldn't handle this big, wild energy, this free creative spirit, this blinding bright light. My astrology is the majority Scorpio and Sagittarius. I'm like this really deep, fiery, intense, passionate energy. I lead with passion and power. And that doesn't really belong here on earth. There wasn't a spot for that. And so there was always so much friction and it was so uncomfortable. And I ended up really internalizing that violence from the outside world and turning that against myself. And really, I gained and lost over 1,300 pounds in yo-yo dieting over the years in the first 33 years of my life until I broke the patriarchal chains of the dieting industry.
That was Lainie Love, Ecstatic Embodied Leadership Mentor and creatrix of the Sacred Revolution Multimedia Oracle Deck. And this is episode 23. Welcome to the Brave Woman Podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Lynn, founder of Sistership Circle and author of Open Your Heart and The Art of Leading Circle. I'm the mother of 2 girls, an 8 on the Enneagram, aka the Challenger, happily married to my business partner, Brent, love connecting with nature, and have put in well over 10,000 hours circling with other women. On this podcast, we will explore how to embody the brave woman so that you can take action on your dreams and desires, unapologetically speak your truth, and live life on your own terms. Grab a seat and a cup of tea, and let's get started.
The Brave Woman Podcast is brought to you by Sistership Circle. One of the tools used at Sistership Circle to help women tap deeper into their feminine wisdom and embody their power is invoking feminine leader archetypes. Archetypes are universal mythic characters that reside within the collective consciousness. When we activate these different archetypal energies, we are able to expand our capacity to lead in our lives and work. For this episode, we want to evoke the Priestess archetype. As the Priestess, you are a space holder for magic and alchemy. You are here as a channel for spirit to bring transformation to this planet. In this activation, we focus on trusting in a power greater than yourself, giving you the space to walk as the embodiment of love, connect with your heart's desire, feel ecstatic energy that's in your body. You can get the full Priestess archetype activation at sistershipcircle.com/podcast-priestess and receive 50% off. Click the link at the bottom of this episode's show notes. And now, onto our show.
So Lainie and I met a few years ago, and she was my roommate when I went to Elaine Kalila's Priestess Presence retreat in Avalon, which is Glastonbury, England, for those of you who may be familiar. And I remember walking into the room and I was late to this retreat. And I remember just being like, oh my God, who is this sparkle lady? And she was just so bright, like these bright glasses and just full self-expression. And we dove so deep together and had a very alchemical experience at our retreat. And so I was so excited to bring this gem of a woman here to the podcast. First of all, because I had probably one of the most epic, ecstatic, Kundalini rising experiences during this anointing ritual that we had. Wow. And so she's got some potent magic. And she literally lives in the art of sparkling shamelessly. So what does that mean to you, Lainie?
Thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction, beloved. I have such fond memories of that retreat and that experience. And it's so core to the ecstatic embodied leadership and everything that I do that it was such an ignition. And I'm so grateful that we got to share that space together and anchor in together in that way. And that we get to be here together today sharing. So thank you, first off. And really, for me, I'm on a mission to ignite a constellation of millions of star beings who are sparkling shamelessly across the globe to help flood the house of humanity with light, healing, and transmutation. And so this idea of the art of sparkling shamelessly, I really believe that we are all walking stardust. Every single living being, regardless of our race or class, nationality, religion, species, it's our true nature to shine. And when we shine together, there is an interconnected constellation of us, just like the stars that shine so brightly in the night sky, each a cosmic and radiant node in our interconnected web of all life. And that's why my life's work is really to help us do just this, which is allowing our spiritual magnificence to come forth, our soul essence, the reality and the raw truth of who we are. That is what I believe our unique soul sparkle, what I call soul sparkle, and the medicine that only we can bring. And so to sparkle shamelessly is really to be lit up and turned on and blazing true. It's really feeling our full life force energy, that Kundalini Shakti, and being filled with aliveness so that we can truly magnetize all that we desire, all that we envision, all that we're here to become. And so it's that merging with the holiness of our truth and being unabashed and unapologetic in the expression of that. It's flaunting our star power. And as the podcast about bravery, it's really daring to live into the fullness of our being while here on planet Earth, calling our power back, calling our sovereignty back, and walking with love into the depths of our revolutionary potential and why we're really here. And so sharing that love freely, rising and shining for the good of all with the warrior hearts and channeling our divine light is so much of what it's about. And I deeply believe that each and every one of us matters and that we're here to do something that matters for the good of all. And we're each a part of this greater collective masterpiece. And if we don't add our unique stroke, it will be lost forever. And we are each needed in this vast ecosystem of humanity to add our nutrient, our gift, our medicine for us all to collectively thrive, which feels so very essential right now. And the regular practice of the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly helps us to do just this. And it's really a 13-pillar system that was inspired by the cycles of the moon and sacred geometry that really came largely, it began before Avalon, but much of it came through from the ancient ones and my ancestors in the land there on that journey several years ago. And it's has become this powerful template to understand how to live into our revolutionary potential and how to really reveal our soul essence and how to uncover the depths of the truth of who we are. And each of the 13 pillars also has an archetype that's associated with it. And the archetypes really help to fully empower us into our potential. And I know you use those in your work as well. And it really becomes this alchemical temple of transmutation. When we gather in our Soul Sparkle Sanctuary Inner Circle, we literally build the alchemical temple with the 13 pillars around us and enter into this ephemeral space where we transform, where we transmute, where we alchemize. And it becomes this roadmap to make of our lives a living prayer, essentially, and to really come wildly alive while doing so, because why else are we here if not to come wildly alive and live into the beauty of these bodies? We're star seeds and spiritual beings in these human bodies, these earth suits that we've chosen to inhabit at this time. And why shouldn't it feel good and ecstatic and delicious? And that really is so much the core of the work we do in the Ecstatic Embodied Leadership Academy. It's really that essence of really having this embodiment of this lifetime really be as potent, as juicy, as peak experience as it can be. And that's really what Sparkling Shamelessly is about. It's not going back to our ancestors unspent. Like, we don't want to go back to them unspent. We want to live in and become their wildest dreams and really live into that. And such a core part of this whole journey is listening to the body, because the body is a portal to our power. And that's really the essence of what this is about, is us coming back into our power, especially as female-bodied individuals, and our sovereignty and self-agency, and living from that empowered place and bringing our medicine from that empowered place.
Mm. Wow. I'm just like, oh, I'm just feeling all that yumminess. And I want to get into this whole alchemical piece in just a moment. First, I have to point out some of the sparkly things in your field right now, so we're not distracted by them, because sometimes the sparkly can be distracting, and that's a good thing. And sometimes it's okay, how do I hold focus? But first of all, here is this star web with the Yoni behind you. So can we just talk a little bit, because that's a huge piece of your sparkle essence is your art, and you've created this oracle card deck, and so it's just behind you. So can you first just give us an introduction of this beautiful art behind you?
Yeah, absolutely. In essence, all the work that I do is creating these alchemical containers of transformation. So whether that's sacred circles, or whether it's our certification, or whether it's the oracle deck, they're all containers that you're entering into to really alchemize your potential and become more of who you truly are and really remember yourself. And so all of my art pieces they're shamanic healing journeys, really, and each of them are deeply layered. So the piece behind me has about 9 layers in it, and you can't see those layers, but you can feel them when you receive the transmission. And they're layered with intentions, with prayers, with archetypal energies. They have crystal medicine, animal medicine, and they're deeply embedded to help activate us. So they're all activations in a sense. And so the Oracle deck, it's called the Sacred Revolution Multimedia Oracle deck. And it's really igniting a revolution and a great homecoming of love and reverence to the body, to the earth, to each other in our web of humanity, and the larger web of all life. And so this piece is really very much about weaving that web. And I'll step aside so you can see a little bit more. It is about collective thriving and about co-creation and about really tapping into sacred geometry, symbology, these different elements that activate us on an archetypal cosmic level. And they help us to seed these aspects of self and remember capacities that might not be online yet. So that's very much the activation in the Oracle deck. It's a starting place to lead you into the depth of all the other work. And that really ties into something else you shared as well. The sparkle can be distracting. It can also be a Trojan horse in that sense, that it's like, ooh, what's that over there? And then it's come a little closer. And then with my Scorpio depths, it's just, we're going to go real deep. If you're willing and ready and want to truly transform and alchemize all that no longer serves you, you're in the right place and I will take you there. But sometimes people aren't ready to go all the way or whatever is happening. So it's like that piece is like the soul flare is what I like to call it. It's the soul flare that somebody that is in resonance and frequency can identify, ooh, what's that over there? I'm going to go that way. And then they pick it up and they're like, oh, like there's actually a lot here if I want to dive in. And so that's the kind of space that I hold. There's different levels of deep diving that you can do to alchemize and step into the truth of who you are, and really providing those different levels because we're meeting each other where we are. That's very important on the journey. And there's no way you can do it wrong in the way I'm doing all the work. Everything is an invitation. Even when I do initiatory journeys, it's an invitation, because if some part of you is truly not ready, then I'm not going to force someone to go into a place that they aren't yet ready on a soul level, because that can actually cause trauma. And that's the piece. It's holding the both and in that piece. And so the Oracle deck is actually the first of its kind because it's interactive. And there's an interactive portal on the Ecstatic Embodied Leadership Academy where there's an embodiment practice, an ecstatic embodiment practice for each of the cards to help you deepen and embody the medicine that is there. And so again, it's the opportunity to go deeper if you want to. You can just look at the pretty pictures and be like, ooh, this is great. Or you can be like, holy shit, there's a lot here. And this is going to catalyze and activate me if I really allow myself to go in. And that's that piece. And it feels so important at this time because there is this call to a great homecoming, to come back to the body, because we've been living in such an age of separation, not only from the body, but from the sisterhood, from the earth. And I know this with the work that you do as well. There's been this epidemic of soul loss and malnourishment. And we've been so disconnected from our bodies, from our essence, from our truth, because we've been shamed relentlessly. That's why Sparkle Shamelessly, the dieting industry, fashion magazine culture, the media has been keeping us weak and stuck in these feedback loops of I'm not enough, I'm not attractive enough, thin enough, powerful enough. And it becomes this loop that completely keeps us from the truth of our radiant magnificence that is awe-inspiring and blinding and so much more than we can even imagine. And so it's really reconnecting us through the work to our soul's essence, to our truth, to who we're here to be. And that's why all of these containers I create are about activating remembrance and really remembering, like literally calling pieces of ourselves back home that have been lost, that have been shattered off, that have been fractured. And that's the deep shamanic healing piece too. And so the art behind me is a part of that. And it's all part of the deeper journey because I believe we're all artists that are here to co-create our lives as a great masterpiece for that good of all and add our stroke to the great cosmic masterpiece. And a big part of the work as well is really activating not only our spirituality and our creativity, but our sexuality. And it creates this holy trinity, trifecta, that becomes this larger activation in our energetic womb spaces that helps us to co-create our lives as we're really meant to and all that we're here to be. And that's a core part of all the work that we really do. And it's a core sort of diagram and activation. It's essential soul medicine for these times as we heal on the body level and bring forward that soul magnificence once again and really restore the body as the living temple and the sacred vessel and the channel for all that wants to be birthed through us at this time out into the world for the good of all.
Vulnerable question for you. You're
Yeah.
your message, your pain is your purpose. And so I'm wondering, because you're such a stand for the shamelessness and you were in the fashion industry, what's the thing that what's the piece of shame that perhaps you've had to overcome to be able to stand in the full embodiment of sparkling shamelessly?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm a deep believer that there's gems in our greatest wounds. And that's part of how we mine for that shameless sparkle. So for me, my greatest wound has been really daring to live into the fullness of my being and to live into that authentic essence. And now that is why I do everything that I do. I was deeply bullied as a young person, growing up queer femme and being overweight most of my life. I didn't feel safe in my own skin. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I didn't feel that I could share the full depth of myself. I was living on the surface in many ways. And I was this obese creative outcast, essentially, that had really horrible self-esteem issues and had my spirit and that bright light squashed relentlessly through violence and bullying from the world around me and the dieting industry and my own family, even in some level. They couldn't handle this big, wild energy, this free creative spirit, this blinding bright light. My astrology is the majority Scorpio and Sagittarius. I'm like this really deep, fiery, intense, passionate energy. I lead with passion and power. And that doesn't really belong here on earth. There wasn't a spot for that. And so there was always so much friction and it was so uncomfortable. And I ended up really internalizing that violence from the outside world and turning that against myself. And really, I gained and lost over 1,300 pounds in yo-yo dieting over the years in the first 33 years of my life until I broke the patriarchal chains of the dieting industry and all the other bullshit that had really had me completely in a straitjacket, really is what it felt like, and kept me from being in the full expression of my radiance. So my body journey has been one of deep healing and coming back home to myself and loving myself and my body and my being exactly as I am. And it's one of the reasons why the why behind all the work that I do is this deep passion about ending the violence that we perpetrate against each other and our own bodies and against our great mother. The way that we treat the earth is a reflection of how we treat our women and girls. And it's deeply abusive. It's deeply predatory. It's extremely violent. It is not sacred. It is not respectful. It is not honoring of life. And it is why we are in the place that we are in, on the verge of extinction because of the deep abuse that we have perpetrated. All the work that I do really comes from that deep place of wanting to end that, wanting to bring us back into sacred reconnection with each other So I'd say when you ask me, what is the deepest wound for me, it is that piece of deep disconnection from the truth of who we are. And so with that Sagittarius energy, I'm like questing for the truth and returning and wanting to help others do the same. And that's why the sacred revolution is such a big part of the work and bringing that forward and that homecoming back to the body, back to each other. And that's why gathering in sacred circle is so important to me, because that's how we reweave the web that has been torn in our humanity and in our connectivity. All the different pieces, they all weave back to that. It's like ending that violence and really encouraging us to live into the fullness of our being and to find those wounds and to mine them, to mine the shadow for the gold. That's the truth of alchemy. It's really like mining the depths of the shadow and the darkness, the baser metals, and turning them into the gold of our lives that is really going to enable us to sparkle shamelessly. And so it's using that as medicine, as fodder, as fuel to say, oh, you burned me in a past life. You thought that was going to keep me down. I am the fire in this lifetime. Try to burn me now. So that that wound was also a big one for me to overcome, to be able to speak and share my truth. It's like I would literally start burning. I would raise 20 degrees in temperature when I would try to speak live. And I did a ton of like hypnotherapy, a lot of embodiment work to heal that because it was real. I literally feared for my life every time I spoke my truth. And that didn't work out because spirit was clear that I was here to be a transformational leader. And I'm like, how's this going to work? So it was like doing the healing that I needed over the last decade to be able to stand here, to be able to speak my truth, to be able to share so freely. And that's been the real journey and the real challenge. But it has been such a deep gift because it has led to that gold. And because it has led to me being able to be in service to the greater good with the deepest medicine that I can bring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fire. It's funny because here you are in all the red, like you're just like flaming right now. And then I've been working with more water energy lately. So here I am in the calm blue. And I feel like this beautiful just weaving here. It's all the elements, working with these different elements. What do you got in your hand? You always have little amazing little tools.
It's my septarian crystal. Yeah, I work with a lot of crystals. They're a big part of my medicine toolkit, and I'm a crystal skull guardian, and they're always with me. This is my public speaking stone.
Yeah,
for those that want that tip, septarian.
We were on a crystal skull hunt in Glastonbury. So that's why I was like, she's got some trick up her hand sleeve over there. Let's talk about alchemy. And first of all, let's start with for those who are like, what's alchemy? What's transmutation? Like some of these words that we just throw around, right? Can we start with just creating some context around these words, and then let's talk about this, because I think this was a huge piece was the alchemy during that retreat, and where I actually got to experience going into this subtle realm, and that's the work that you do. Yeah, let's go there.
I would love to go there, especially because my greatest passion is really to serve as a lightning catalyst of personal and planetary transformation. I am that fire keeper and that fierce channel and pillar of light between heaven and earth. And creating these containers of alchemical transformation is really my superpower. So to break it all the way down, alchemy is essentially the science of transformation. And there's a very basic formula to it as well. So the goal of alchemy is really the great work. And it's also referred to as the philosopher's stone or the Holy Grail or eternal life. There's different ways that it can be referred to, but essentially it's really living into our full revolutionary potential. That's what the great work is of alchemy. And so when you really break it down, the first part is really taking a raw material, which could be lead, or for instance, the soul and psyche, and what we're bringing to an encounter. So when we really apply it to this transformational developmental work, we take the raw material and we start there. And then we put it in a vessel. In alchemy, that usually looked like a chemistry vessel or maybe even some kind of container that was airtight and sealed. And so I see that as the sacred circle. You're bringing this raw material, the soul and psyche, and you're putting it into the sacred circle. And then you're breaking it down into its components. Once it's in that vessel, and there are different sort of catalysts that help to break it down. And I see myself as part of that catalyst, the leaders that I train as part of that catalyst, but that's the ego dissolution. That's releasing all that we thought that we were so that we can become who we actually are. And then from there, there's the purification process, and we purify it. So it's taking the raw material, it's putting it in that vessel, it's breaking it down into the components, and then purifying it. And I see that as the deep release work, the clearing work, the shamanic healing work, the much deeper alchemy. And part of what we experienced together in that container in Avalon was a deep clearing that then allowed that final step is reforming it into something new and vital. The reclamation of full self, stepping into our full sovereignty and power and shameless sparkle. So that's really when the soul is starting to express more of itself because the ego part has dissolved. Things have cleared. You've brought in that raw material, and it's truly created a soup, an alchemical soup. Just like the best way I can describe it actually is with the butterfly and how the caterpillar dissolves in this soup. Literally, it dissolves in a soup in the chrysalis. And in that soup are imaginal cells. And the imaginal cells start to form the butterfly. And the caterpillar has no idea that it's going to become a butterfly. It has no idea of the beauty and the radiance and magnificence and the color and the splendor, and that it's going to be able to literally fly. Caterpillar has no idea. Caterpillar's just like going in, doing its thing. That's where we are early on the journey of ascension and transformation. And in that part, it's like the caterpillar enters in, has no idea, dissolves in that soup, is in that chrysalis. And then the imaginal cells start to do their work and their magic. That's that catalytic energy. And then it emerges as that whole new full self. I really see this alchemical process as mirroring the ascension process and raising our consciousness, because it's allowing us to shine a deeper light on the shadow bits, on the parts that are in the darkness, on the parts that we aren't yet aware of, are even missing, and allowing us to bring those back in so that we can whole ourselves. It's a journey of wholing. That's what remembrance is. We are coming into wholeness in ourselves. And we're entering with all of those childhood programs and social conditioning and the scripts and past life karmic baggage and all of this like bullshit that we're just like lugging along on the journey. And we realize, wow, this shit is not working. And then we start and we enter in, and that chrysalis can become that dark night of the soul. In alchemy, it's referred to as the massa confusa in the Negredo phase, which is actually this like deep state of confusion. It's like a confused mass. And we become this, we dissolve, we become this dissolved mess. We can become very hopeless. That part of the journey can be very challenging, but that is part of the reason why the courage and bravery is so important to keep going. Because that's the most important part of this, is to not stop the journey short. If you try to cut open a chrysalis, the butterfly will never fly, and you can't rush the process. So many of us are impatient in our culture. You got to do it. You got to do it now. You got to make the product now. And this is not about the product. Our soul essence is not a product that we produce. It's a long journey that we enter into and need to be held during, so that we can shine that light of the lunar reflection more clearly and purify those old patterns and bring them into awareness so that we can raise our consciousness and really excel in our lives and in the ascension process overall. That's so much of the essence of the work that we do, is holding people through this process. And of course, there are different levels. Not everything is an alchemical process, but alchemy and healing can happen instantaneously because we are multidimensional beings. And if we're stuck in the 3D, holding on to the story and holding on to, oh, I'm going to have to go to therapy for 10 years to heal this, that you don't have to do that. That's one way. You could absolutely do that, but you don't have to. And that's a lot of the work too. It can happen in an instant, like what happened in Avalon with us. It's like that healing, that transmutation can come in on the multi-dimensions in a sense immediately and create a great healing. If you are open, if you are being held expertly by somebody who knows how to lead that kind of space. And that's part of why actually I brought all of this medicine that I've been carrying and working with for the last decade into our Sovereign Sisters Rising certification. because it's really helping sisters and individuals to be able to step up and hold this kind of space for transformation, because it is so deeply needed. It is so deeply needed. And that's why I love the work that you do, helping people to really gather and hold these circles and really step into this transformational work and begin the journey. And level 1 is our sacred circle leader, and level 2 is the alchemist. And then 3 is the initiator. It gets deeper and deeper in the journey to be able to create these larger, longer containers for this deep process of really soul questing and really looking at, why am I here? Who am I? Who am I here to be? Who am I here to become? How am I meant to sparkle shamelessly? What am I here to birth? And that's what these containers help us to do. And it was just such a strong call to really create this greater training to help others hold this space as well. I can only hold so many circles in my lifetime. I would love to hold thousands, hundreds, but I can only do so much. And I want to empower others to be able to also hold that kind of space and to be that kind of catalyst in our world, because more of us are needed. That's why it's the multiple hands. That's why it's the web, because when we come together, we have such greater potential. When we co-create and dream the new world into being, what we can accomplish in that collective field, which is a vortex and portal of power, when we gather in sacred circle, is beyond anything that we can do on our own. And so that is why it's such a core part. And when I see it, I see us like this flower of life that's spinning out with multiple circles of the flower of life expanding out and wrapping the entire planet. And so the more of us that are doing this work and holding space for people to rise non-hierarchically in sacred circle is essential medicine at this time. And there are plenty of options of who to work with and how to experience this, but it's just to step in, because we're being asked to be ecstatic embodied leaders now, especially as female-bodied people. I deeply believe that, because we are here as part of the healing. We have chosen to show up here at this time. And so many of us carry these similar wounds of disembodiment and of the witch wound and of the fear of being in our truth and the fear of being in our power. That's exactly what we're here to do, is transmute that and help bring the feminine and the masculine, in terms of the divine feminine, divine masculine energies that we all inhabit, back into balance in ourselves, in the world, for that greater new earth that is really birthing, the new paradigm that is here. And that's how we're going to create that constellation of star beings, of millions of star beings that are sparkling shamelessly together. We hold each other up. We reach out our hand and lift each other up to come in and help us to really grow and shine. And remember that we are infinite and that we have this full rainbow light ray expression and unique essence. And our sparkle is eternal. It's never born. It will never die. It's just going to change forms. We're really being challenged now as those light workers, as those healers, as those leaders, to raise our vibration, to meet the call of these times, and to seize our courage, our bravery, to really step into our soul's full potential and do what matters and stay close to the heart of what matters, even in the vast distraction and chaos today.
Yes. So, Miss Amazing Embodied Ecstatic Alchemist, can you lead us through something? Can you activate the women listening to this call right now? Can you lead us through some, I don't know, whatever's coming to you, some, bring in some magic. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I just got back from a journey in Maui in Hawaii and did a potent ceremony in the volcanic crater in Haleakala. And so it very much felt like an activation of the sacral chakra, of that energetic womb bowl, of the power of creation. So I would love to lead us in a mini experience around that.
Let's do it.
All right. So I invite you here, beloveds, to close your eyes. And to take some deep inhales and exhales. And I want to invite you on the exhale to make an audible sound and to actually release energetically anything from your body that might not be serving you in this moment. And it's going to sound a little bit like this. And you can shake out your body at the end of that too. Just like really imagine that anything that isn't serving you right now is just like sloughing off of you, like dead skin. You can even brush your skin when you breathe out. Let's try that again. Maybe even a little lion's breath. One more time. I'm going to invite you here just to open your eyes for a moment and to create the Yoni Mudra with your fingers, your two thumbs together, your two pointer fingers together in a downward pointing triangle. And I want to invite you to place that over your energetic womb space, your sacral chakra, right under your belly button. And I believe that regardless of our gender, we all have an energetic womb space. So I want to speak that here, so that whoever is listening know that this is for you too. And so to really feel that energetic womb space here and to feel that triangle, that holy trinity of creativity, your own potent creation power, that archetypal energy of the creator, destroyer, preserver. And then the point of your spirituality and who you are as a soul and your essence and your soul sparkle. Just feeling those 2 points at the top. And then that bottom point of the triangle as your sexuality, your primal power, your Shakti, your life force energies. And just feel those 3 points together here. And we're going to do a mini activation of this energetic womb space here. And just imagine that it's going to be flowing clockwise, that triangle, as if energy is moving through that triangle. And that's going to be where we're going with this. So now that you've really anchored that in and just feeling your feet here really anchoring into the earth, feeling a root coming out down the bottom of your spine, out your tailbone, and anchoring down into Mama Gaia here, out the bottoms of your feet, really anchoring you down to receive the fullness of this activation. And I want you to visualize and really invite you here, know that everything is an invitation, to really visualize yourself standing in the center of a volcanic crater. And it's an active volcanic crater. It isn't fully dormant. It's 10,000 feet up in elevation in the sky. You're above the clouds. You can see the clouds literally below you. Just feel yourself on this vast crater. Feel the energy of Mama Gaia, of Mother Maui. Feeling it beneath your feet, knowing that your roots are grounded down into her molten lava core. Imagining Goddess Pele, the volcano goddess, and her potent Shakti energy and creation power. She literally forms new land, new earth, new territory to roam. And know that you too possess that power. We're going to tap into her energy and her power now. So as you feel your roots extending down into that molten lava core, I invite you on the next in-breath to literally breathe in that fire of creation up through your roots into your energetic womb space. Literally feel yourself sipping it up from the earth with your breath into your body, through the bottoms of your feet, up through your legs, up through every cell, up through your sexual organs, up into your energetic womb space, and feel that fire light up that triangle, light up that energetic space, and feel it start to flow. You may even want to start to gently circle your hips to the right in small hip circles, almost as if you're stirring an alchemical cauldron here. Feeling that fire, and on each in-breath, continuing to breathe up that lava fire, Pele's energy of creation into your body here. Fully breathing it up, feeling it as you're stirring your energetic womb space, what I also like to call your medicine bowl. feeling that medicine bowl being activated here now. Feeling that energy come fully into your body on each breath, feeling it light up your cells, light up your creative potential, light up your shameless sparkle. Feel it energizing every cell of your being and body, even coming up into your heart center and lighting that heart fire here. And I invite you to gently rub your energetic womb space in spiral circles here. Clockwise, spinning in, rubbing that energy in, feeling it activated and stirring. Feeling that vast creation energy filling you, inspiring you, catalyzing you in this moment, and feeling that fire burning away anything that isn't serving you and your creative potential. Anything that isn't serving you, stepping into your revolutionary potential in this lifetime, feeling it be burned away and alchemized with that fire, immediately cleared here now. It is done. It is clear. And I invite you here to come into stillness with your hand, maybe one on the energetic womb space, one on your heart. And in this space of the fertile void, of the emptiness, of the blackness, of the ultimate space of potentiality, that multidimensional space of potentiality, to allow this question to enter your consciousness. What are you here to birth, beloved? That which can only be birthed through you into the world at this most potent time in human history. And just allow yourself here to listen. Be curious. Stay open to what wants to be received. Taking a moment here to give gratitude, maybe bringing in prayer hands to your heart, thanking the Creator for this activation, for this moment, this holy now moment in which we were together, for this activation, and for whatever guidance you received from the other realms about what you're here to birth. And just taking a moment in gratitude, offering that in any way that feels good to you, especially to the Creator. Maybe even offering a stone you might have in your pocket, ephemerally, a piece of your hair in gratitude and thanks. Honoring the land, the ancestors of the land, the spirits of the land, the ancestors in the dust and the sand and the rocks, saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And when you're ready, gently wiggling your fingers and toes, maybe gently tapping on your thighs, allowing yourself to come fully back in this moment, and really inviting you with whatever you received to write it down, to journal it, to maybe even make your own oracle card around it, knowing there's no way you can do it wrong, and really note any colors, textures, symbols, anything that came through, and allow yourself to be in a deeper dialogue with it. We do a lot of expressive arts practices in our circles to help activate and really listen to that deeper level of psyche and soul, which doesn't always communicate in words. So if you didn't get any words, that's okay too. And just allow yourself to be in the deeper inquiry of how this is calling you, how your soul is calling you forward now. And that's really, in general, to always be in that space where we're listening to the greater call of the soul and who it is we're here to become, and allowing ourselves to be magnetically pulled on the journey.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit, because I've got some stuff coming up. I'm just going to get vulnerable for a minute. So that was super intense for me. I'm like connecting some dots here. So before I came to Costa Rica, I did a circle and was held by women to go into the middle and just be in my fire. And literally, I felt like I was burning in the middle of the circle, and it was super intense. And it was just like allowing myself to be in that fire. And here I am in Costa Rica, and I feel like I'm like burning up here. Here at the coast, it's so freaking hot. And when I first arrived a couple weeks ago, I literally felt like I was just gonna just burst into flames. So I've been really struggling with my fire, and I'm always burning a lot of fire. So fire is like really easy for me to tap into. I believe I might be a Leo moon. And my daughter's a Leo, but I'm a Pisces, so I've got water as well. So I've been playing with these two elements of the fire and the water. And just what I noticed is it came up and it literally came into my heart. And I felt I was having like heart palpitations, like from drinking too much coffee. I can't even drink coffee because I'm already caffeinated naturally. So I just felt like my whole heart just wanting to burst open. I almost feel like the tenderness of that. Oh my God, I'm literally going to combust here. Then it was like this immediate, this is just too much. I'm just so over the fire right now. Just please throw some water on me. I need to go jump in the ocean right now. I want to share that for everyone listening, and also just there's definitely some medicine for me here around that piece of where I am, perhaps because I just noticed I want to go to the ocean and I want to check out and I want to go to sleep. I want to ground into the earth. I just want to take a nap and I want to be in the ocean and just douse this energy that is constantly feels like it's burning me out. So I'm open to whatever's coming through for you and me sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's an essential part, actually, of the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly, is maintaining a sustainable burn so that we don't burn out. And so that is really part of the deeper medicine that we have to lean into in this journey, because that fire, those hot heat practices, for those that don't have a lot of fire, those can be really good and activating. For those of us that do have a lot of fire, it can feel very intense and overwhelming. And so it's really coming into a place of balance. And you are in the exact right place with bringing in those water cooling practices. So cooling practices are what are needed to really balance those warming fire practices. And we need that fire, and we need our hearts to break open to the reality of what's happening in the world right now, to the deep pain and the truth of what is really happening. And so like that fire and that breaking ourselves wide open is needed. And we also need to balance that with that deep self-care, with going to the ocean, doing all the things that you're saying sounds exactly right. It is allowing ourselves to be and come into as much balance as possible, because that's what's been missing in our world. The masculine is that solar, is that fire, is that driving, is that, and I used to be that bulldozer. I used to completely bulldoze my body with that fire energy, and it burned me out. And so it's really bringing in the feminine, bringing in the lunar, bringing in the water, bringing in the space where we can just be and not do, right? We need the doing, but we need the being. And the being is what we're remembering now. That's what we're calling back in. That's the piece with creation and activating that triangle. It's yes, but to keep it burning sustainably, we need both. We need the both, and to dance with that and to know this is your time to step forward. I need to step back. I need a break. I need to rest. I need to take care of myself. I need self-care. I take baths every day, actually, because that water at the end of the day, and it's salt baths, it helps me to integrate all the fire. Yeah. So it's really knowing ourselves well. And our astrology is a really beautiful way we work with a lot with astrology and the ancient rhythms and cycles in the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly, because that's really essential medicine that helps us to know ourselves so that we can take care of ourselves. Because if we don't know ourselves and we don't know our different elements, we don't know where we're strong and where we're weak, then we don't know how to show up for ourselves. And so the more we know ourselves on this journey, the more we listen to the call of the soul, the more we encounter who we truly are. That's what was inscribed on the Temple of Delphi, is know thyself. That's like the most important directive I think we've ever received as humans. And knowing ourselves helps us to be able to balance that. And you know yourself, so you know what you need. And that's amazing. Yeah. That's modeling of what we all need, is to understand like, okay, this is who I am. This is what I'm made of. this is where I could use some support. This is where I could use some grounding. This is where I don't have a lot of earth in my chart, for instance, which is why I've always been so drawn to crystals. They are my earth medicine. And when I lived in New York City, I didn't have access to a lot of earth. So I surrounded myself with crystal medicine, and that helps to keep me here on earth, especially when I'm speaking. I wear crystals, I hold crystals, I bring them with me. So it's just knowing those pieces that we can add to our toolkit to support us in the sustainable burn. Because if it's not sustainable, we can't keep going. If it's not sustainable, we're not going to be able to co-create the new earth and lead the sacred revolution. And so that is part of where our sovereignty and self-agency is so important, because we need to be able to not abandon ourselves, especially as women, which we've done for centuries. I included, is to not abandon ourselves and to say, this is what I need right now for me. Yeah. To be able to keep going, to be able to show up, especially when we're leaders, especially when we're holding vast groups of people and communities and beloveds and circles and have a lot of responsibility and family and children. We need to be able to say, this is for me. This is what I need for me. And that is what will help us maintain that sustainable burn. And so for anyone else who might be feeling that excess of fire, encourage you, drink a ton of water. Definitely lots and lots of water. And that's for everyone, for anything you may have cleared and processed. If you can take a salt bath, you can go in the ocean to really help detox and process. Most of us are dehydrated and we don't have enough water because of the excess of fire, right? In culture and the world. And so really bring in that water today, bring in the sensual, just like gently let water pour down your body as if you're touching yourself, and allow yourself to really integrate the energies and to ground them in a way that is nourishing for you.
Okay. Amazing. Wow. This has just been so powerful. And we are at the end here. For all the women, this will be here for maybe years to come. So how can everyone find you? And we'll also have all of the links in our show notes. So can you just share a little bit about how the women can find you if they're wanting to sparkle shamelessly with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two ways that you can find me most easily at LainieLoveDalby.com, and it's LAINIE. And then there's also the Ecstatic Embodied Leadership.academy. And so that's the actual URL, Ecstatic Embodied Leadership.academy. And that's where our Sacred Circle Leader certification is, and the journey with level 2 with the Alchemist, which is actually starting live in May for those who might be listening to this sooner, May 2021. But it's going to be available as well past this time too. So just really inviting you in if you feel called to journey around the sacred art of sparkling shamelessly, if you feel called to deepen in with the work and alchemizing all that no longer serves you so that you can become more of who you're here to be and really step into your full ecstatic embodied leadership and be a part of the personal and planetary transformation that is really calling at this time, and being a midwife of the new earth. We would welcome you to really join us, especially if you consider yourself a starseed or a misfit or other being that maybe hasn't necessarily felt like they belonged here on earth and have had a challenging time being in your body and being here. We would love to welcome you with open arms to our inner circle or any of the places where we gather. And just, I deeply love and am passionate about this work. And I love helping souls to free human spirits, really, to step into their shameless sparkle and power and sovereignty. And so if you're up for that, come join me. I would love to play together and get my hands on you.
Oh, yeah. If you hold a very powerful container, I'm still burping up whatever just came up for me with this fire medicine. Super powerful. So last question to just close us up. What does it mean to be the brave woman?
To be the brave woman. That feels like it wants to come as a prayer.
Yes,
so
let's end with a prayer.
Yeah. Brave women, this is a call to you. It is my prayer that we show up authentic to our core and unapologetic for the consciousness raising journey and collective initiation into the new paradigm ahead. May we continue to gather in sacred circle and beloved community and alchemize all that is no longer serving us individually and collectively. May we bring resilience and determination to our shared visions and co-create that new earth together. May we show up to do the right thing with diligence and daily sacred work. May we dismantle and alchemize who we thought we were in order to become who we're meant to be, both individually and as a collective human family. May we come into the full embodiment of our authentic radiance and shameless sparkle in this lifetime. And may we remember who we truly are, and that we are enough, and that we are whole, and that we are sovereign. And may we have a wealth of inner resources to be grounded and anchored and centered in the midst of the chaos of this 3D world. And may we truly take a stand for deep nourishment and collective thriving for all. Most of all, I pray that we come home to the body, to the earth, to each other in sacred sisterhood, and to the heart of what matters most, including this one wild and precious life we've been given in a great sacred revolution for all. May it be so, beloved sister.
May it be so. Mama.
If you just listened to this show, I'd love for you to leave the Brave Woman podcast an honest review. Reviews help podcasts like this one grow, making it more possible for me to devote my time, energy, and money to its production. If you take a screenshot of your review and email it to support@sistershipcircle.com, we'll send you one of our archetype activations as a thank you gift. If you like this show and have been watching for a while, or even this is the first one, I have an ask of you. This feels vulnerable, but I know I need to model the brave woman every day in as many ways as I can. Here's my ask. This podcast costs a lot of time, money, and energy to produce it. And in order for it to be sustainable over the long term, I need financial sponsorship. A simple way for you to support is by buying me a cup of coffee. Cute, huh? If everyone who listened bought me a cup of coffee for $1, $3, $5, it would cover the cost of production. So you can do this at sistershipcircle.com/coffee. Thank you so much for your love and support. Up next, do you want to learn how to decrease your environmental impact while simultaneously increasing the difference that you make out there in the world? In the next episode, Marina Qutab talks about how she created a zero-waste lifestyle while also spreading viral videos on YouTube, and how you can increase your impact online.